Hello, everybody. I want to share a book, part of a book, just a snippet of a book, which is part of a set, which you've probably heard of, but if you've not read the books themselves, then I would highly recommend them, and that is the Chronicles of Narnia. I was a missionary kid in Nigeria when I was little. I've lived in Hungary, Ukraine, China as an adult. But when I was a little girl, I lived in Africa, and my dad read to me the Chronicle of Narnia. In fact, he read them to us several times over and over again. And we read them before they were actually available in the United States. They were still puffin books. And so they're very dear to me, and so even the movies that came out were a great disappointment to me because the people that made the movies did not understand them. But I want to read just a small little section from The Last Battle. It's the very last book. And if you don't know anything about it at all, Jesus is represented by a great lion named Aslan. And this is the very end of the book, toward the very end, and I just want to read just a little bit here. They have come into Aslan's country, and it says, when Aslan said you could never go back to Narnia, he meant the Narnia you were thinking of, but that was not the real Narnia. That had a beginning and an end. It was only a shadow or a copy of the real Narnia, which has always been here and always will be here, just as our own world, England and all, is only a shadow or copy of something in Aslan's real world. You need not mourn over Narnia, Lucy. All of the old Narnia that mattered, all the dear creatures, have been drawn into the real Narnia through the door. And of course it is different as a real thing is from a shadow, or as waking life is from a dream. His voice stirred everyone like a trumpet as he spoke these words, but when he added under his breath, it's all in Plato, bless me. What do they teach them at these schools? It was so exactly like the sort of thing they had heard him say long ago in that other world where his beard was gray instead of golden. He knew why they were laughing and joined in the laugh himself, but very quickly they all became grave again, for, as you know, there is a kind of happiness and wonder that makes you serious. It is too good to waste on jokes. It is as hard to explain how this sunlit land was different from the old Narnia as it would be to tell you how the fruits of that country taste. Perhaps you will get some idea of it if you think like this. You may have been in a room in which there was a window that looked out on a lovely bay of the sea or a green valley that wound away among mountains. And in the wall of that room, opposite to the window, there may have been a looking glass. And as you turned away from the window, you suddenly caught sight of that sea or that valley all over again in the looking glass. And the sea in the mirror, or the valley in the mirror, were in one sense just the same as the real ones. Yet at the same time, they were somehow different, deeper, more wonderful, more like places in a story you've never heard but very much want to know. The difference between the old Narnia and the new Narnia was like that. The new one was a deeper country. Every rock and flower and blade of grass looked as if it meant more. I can't describe it any better than that. If you ever get there, you will know what I mean. Okay, and I want to read one more part at the very end. Okay, here we go. This is Aslan talking to all the children who have come back. Now they're not really children, they're sort of young people, but he says to them, then Aslan turned to them and said, you do not yet look so happy as I meant you to be. Lucy said, we're so afraid of being sent away, Aslan, and you've sent us back into our own world so often. No fear of that, said Aslan. Have you not guessed? Their hearts leaped and a wild hope rose within them. "There was a real railway accident," said Aslan softly. "Your father and mother and all of you are, as you used to call it in the Shadowlands, dead. The term is over. The holidays have begun. The dream is ended. This is the morning." And as he spoke, he no longer looked to them like a lion. But the things that began to happen after that were so great and beautiful that I cannot write them. And for us, this is the end of all the stories, and we can most truly say that they all lived happily ever after. But for them, it was only the beginning of the real story. All their life in this world and all their adventures in Narnia had only been the cover and the title page. Now at last they were beginning chapter 1 of the great story which no one on earth has read, which goes on forever, in which every chapter is better than the one before. Guys, if you haven't read these books, C.S. Lewis was so prophetic. This is the country we're looking forward to. We really are, guys. Jesus is coming soon.